up on global business. Trade focus. APEC business leaders met in Bangkok to prepare recommendations for this year's summit in China. Industrial push. China's June inflation data shows consumer prices rising at a slower pace, while producer prices continue to climb. APEC Spotlight. Shanghai is getting ready to host the World AI Conference and a high-level meeting on global AI governance later this month. It's good evening from Beijing and welcome to this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Lily Lu. A shoe factory fire has caused major casualties in southeast China's Fujian province. President Xi Jinping has ordered all-out efforts for rescue and relief. He has also called for an investigation into the cause and for holding accountable those responsible. Xi Jinping emphasized the need to learn from the accidents that happened earlier this year to always stay alert for risks in order to guarantee safe production. The Asia-Pacific business community has wrapped up a key meeting ahead of this year's APEC leaders meeting. The meeting finalized a package of policy recommendations. Our correspondent to Desita Sakawi reports.
The deals may not be signed here, but the ideas that shape them often are. The APEC Business Advisory Council, better known as ABAC, has brought together leading figures from businesses across all 21 APEC member economies. Inside this hall are people who actually move the Asia-Pacific economy. Their key message: governments and businesses must work together to keep trade open, investment flowing, and growth inclusive. Today's business environment is becoming more complex. Trade rules are shifting, supply chains are being redrawn. AI is transforming industries almost overnight. Companies are having to make long-term investment decisions in an increasingly unpredictable world. Decisions that could shape the Asia-Pacific for the years to come. While the world may be becoming more divided, for businesses, staying connected has never mattered more. Thailand, as this year's ABAC chair, says stronger regional cooperation will be critical to maintaining growth.
I think we have to focus on quality growth, not just growth for the sake of growing, but how do we make sense with the new technologies that we have, with the information that we have, how do we make sense and try and mitigate some of these issues that are going on in the world.
China remains a key part of that equation. As one of the region's largest trading nations and a major source of investment, Chinese businesses are looking beyond short-term headwinds, exploring new partnerships in advanced manufacturing, digital technology, green development, and cross-border trade.
We think that it exerts the union and connectivity and synergy. From our point of view, the APEC year will be very important in this China year. I think that the FATAP will be further discussed, and the connectivity will be further discussed. They reached the consensus as the last point. I think it shows the united of all the industrial commercial circle of the Asia-Pacific region.
Despite growing uncertainty, business leaders say the Asia-Pacific remains resilient. Home to nearly half of global trade and 60% of the world's GDP, what happens here becomes far more than just a regional conversation. It's the next shipping route, the next supply chain, the next billion-dollar investment. It's keeping the Asia-Pacific growing, no matter how the world changes. Desita Sakawi, CGTN, Bangkok, Thailand.
The ABAC finalized a package of policy recommendations. One of the biggest developments was a joint proposal from Chinese and U.S. business representatives to establish an Asia-Pacific supply chain cooperation platform.
The proposal combines America's existing work on supply chain resilience tools with China's practical experience through the China International Supply Chain Expo, focusing on building practical tools and platforms for regional supply chain. It also represents a concrete effort by the business communities of both countries to implement the consensus reached by the two heads of state during their meeting in Beijing this May.
Let's get insights on ABAC Bangkok meeting and its regional benefits. For that, let's bring in Mr. Liu Zhiqing, Senior Research Fellow at Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies at Renmin University of China. Mr. Liu, thank you so much for joining us on the program. So this year's ABAC meeting in Bangkok prioritizes building a more resilient supply chain across the region. What are the tangible benefits that can closer supply chain corporations bring to regional businesses?
Actually, there are many tangible benefits can bring to the all companies and the partners in this region. As we know that the major challenge we are facing is the uncertainty and also the turbulences in the different policies from different countries. So as many people just now said, that get united to have more unity and cooperation is the only way and the key to solve all these disputes and have close cooperation and close connectivity in all fields. This is a very important thing. For Chinese company, I think the only way we can do it that we should open our market or should open all these cooperations widely to welcome all partners and investment from outside. This is the best way to show our the sincere cooperation and give the best support to all partners that join us.
And also, digital connectivity is a key focus of this ABAC session. So how can the Asia-Pacific business community lower cross-border digital barriers, and what role can Chinese enterprises play in this?
Now, actually, there's some policy barriers in different countries for the so-called security of the digital transition or digital cooperation. As we know that the only thing is that to solve much unnecessary concerns about the so-called state security. Many countries take this as an excuse to protect their own industry and give less room and space for digital cooperation. This is the way that we should try to move it. This is the major barriers for all countries. The Chinese companies, I think we will open our market and also open our technologies to welcome cooperation partners from outside. Let all these partners to know what technologies we have, and especially for cross-border digital payment. And I think China has a very good financial facilities and equipment and talented and also policy support. We can learn from each other. Also, we can support most of the partners in this region.
And another topic that was widely discussed at this year's Bangkok meeting was green transition. So what are the unique strengths that China can contribute to Asia-Pacific low-carbon cooperation?
As we know, China is one of the best and the strongest nations that to execute this green technology, especially when we are trying our best to fulfill our commitment to the UN proposal for the green development. Nowadays, we are facing some very heavy challenges about the energy crisis. For instance, the crude oil supplies. When we are talking about the computing powers, that also do we need energy connectivity, so electricity supply, and all kinds of the support to this fundamental industry. So these companies has the first thing that Chinese companies should do their job by their own in a very good result. Only after this basis that the Chinese companies can provide more opportunities and more chances to cooperate to support the other countries. So that's why we should develop this green technology and energy industry, and then we give full support to all partners in the world, in the region.
Thank you so much for your insights. That's Mr. Liu Zhiqing from Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies at Renmin University of China. Thank you. The Asia Development Bank says that prolonged Middle East conflict has disrupted energy markets and hit the region's economic outlook more severely than expected. In its latest report, its 2026 growth forecast for developing Asia-Pacific has been cut to 4.9%, down 0.2 percentage points from April, while the 2027 projection stays at 5.1%. Inflation for this year is revised up to 4.3%, a sharp jump from 3% in 2025, with fertilizer prices and supply chains also under pressure. The bank warns that renewed escalation and geopolitical uncertainty could further tighten energy markets and amplify inflationary risks. Rising borrowing costs, widening fiscal deficits, and trade policy uncertainty add to the challenges threatening food security across the region. And still to come here on Global Business. Industrial push. China's June inflation data shows consumer prices rising at a slower pace while producer prices continue to climb. Let's now get a check on China's latest inflation numbers. The National Bureau of Statistics reports that consumer inflation has stabilized at 1% in June on an annual basis, and that is slightly weaker than the previous month, dragged down by food prices, especially pork. The services sector has shown strong momentum, with prices of transportation and telecom services up more than 4%. The producer price index continues to rise, growing 4.1% on the year in June. The increase is mainly driven by higher production costs in the mining sector and rising prices of key raw materials, including metals, chemicals, and energy. China's Ministry of Commerce and other 8 departments have issued a guideline to accelerate the innovative development of the retail industry. The guideline aims to establish a modern retail system and cultivate a number of retail enterprises that are globally competitive by year 2030. The guideline outlines several key tasks, such as renovating old streets to promote their business value, facilitating integration of retail with industries including catering, sports, and tourism. Analysts say that the guideline can help to create new consumer demand and boost the innovative transformation and high-quality development of the retail sector. And in the meantime, retailers are giving themselves a fresh look and is starting to pay off. Shoppers are finding new products, new store designs, and a whole different experience. We went to some of Beijing's busiest malls to see what has changed.
This is Beijing Solana, with its Chinese name literally translated as Blue Harbor. Unlike traditional shopping districts, it mixes shopping with waterfront greenery and open spaces. People coming here aren't just buying something. They're coming to sit by the river, take photos, and just hang out.
The environment is great. We feel really happy just strolling around. There are shops lining the street, so if we get thirsty, we can grab a drink. If we're hungry, we can find a meal.
Beyond these new retail plus business models, many traditional supermarkets are also actively transforming. Last year, this supermarket in Beijing took a page from Henan-based retailer Peng Donglei, adopting its customer-centric approach to develop its own private label products. It expanded its fresh-baked goods and ready-to-eat food sections and added several new convenience services for customers. Shelves were lowered and the layout became more open and tidy. Many supermarkets across the country are now using the Peng Donglai model as a benchmark for their own transformation. Beyond optimizing products, upgrading store environments, and improving service, some have extended their reforms to employees. They've raised wages, upgraded rest areas and dining facilities, and refined training systems. That's boosted motivation and service quality across the board.
And in capital Beijing, every square meter counts. Spaces that once went unnoticed are now drawing fresh attention. The city is no stranger to world-famous landmarks, but increasingly, visitors and locals alike are looking for something beyond the usual sightseeing, and they're finding it one floor up. Our reporter Yu Bo-kun takes us to rooftops.
Everyone knows Beijing from the street. The bustle, the traffic, the crowd. But these days, more people are heading one floor up. This old bookstore has stood in central Beijing for decades. Locals drop by for coffee, reading, or a quiet break. The owner renovated a few years ago to make room for more readers.
Our bookstore was quite small. During a 2023 renovation, we added a rooftop terrace, expanding the space from 130 to 260 square meters.
Well, heading in the Beijing is one of the busiest neighborhood. This bookstore has found an unexpected draw. Its second-floor terrace.
The terrace now hosts reading sessions, flower arranging workshops, and small events, attracting a whole new crowd.
With the breeze outside, you feel much closer to nature.
It's definitely a different atmosphere from being inside. Sitting here and looking out at the historic buildings just feels wonderful.
Today, the rooftop is just as popular as the shelves below.
The Dongcheng government's campaign to promote terrace businesses has brought in customers who come specifically for the terraces. We've also seen more young visitors.
Beijing's famous landmarks aren't going anywhere, but what's changing now is how the city is using existing spaces, where terraces like that are giving visitors a fresh experiences and while creating new business models for local shops.
The Dongcheng district government has linked more than 300 terrace spaces along the central axis with hotels and tourist sites. Partnerships with platforms like Meituan and Ctrip are helping draw more foot traffic. From bookstores to restaurants, terraces are breathing new life into old spaces. In a city where every square meter counts, even a rooftop can become a destination in its own right. Yu Bokun, CGTN, Beijing.
And still to come here on Global Business. AI Spotlight. Shanghai is getting ready to host the World AI Conference and a high-level meeting on global AI governance later this month.
A vast land of 1.4 billion people. The world's second largest economy. Home to stories of the unexpected, the unimaginable, the breathtaking. Stories that touch the soul. Feel the speed, the passion. Enjoy spectacular natural and cultural landscapes. Feel the thrill of cutting-edge innovations. Discovering China. Global Biz. China Travel. We present a China never seen before. 24/7 at your fingertips.
Time now to get a quick check on other business headlines we're tracking across China. China has unveiled a new action plan for carbon peaking aimed at accelerating the country's comprehensive green transformation. It features a binding target to cut carbon dioxide emissions per unit of GDP by 17% in 2030 from 2025 levels. China's auto exports surged nearly 5.10 million units in the first half of 2026. That is up roughly 65% on year, according to the latest data from the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers. In the meantime, new energy vehicle exports surged 1.2 times from a year earlier. And Chinese memory chip giant Changxin Memory Technologies announced on Thursday that it will begin book building on July 15th for its Shanghai IPO, targeting proceeds of around 30 billion yuan. Prices for consumer electronics from gaming consoles to laptops are on the rise, driven by a global shortage of memory chips that's been intensified by surging demand for AI technology. Chinese chipmaker CXMT has emerged as a potential new alternative, but with prices expected to remain high for years to come, will that really make a difference? Our reporter Mark New has more.
Consumer electronics prices are on the rise.
Sony have to raise the PS5 by $100, which is huge. Even the Switch 2, Nintendo had to raise it by $50, which is, unheard of. GoPro said they might have to file bankruptcy. partly because of memory costs. Apple, of all folks, which does probably the best job of anybody managing supply chain, they had to start raising prices. The MacBook Neo, the cheapest one, was lauded for being $599. Now it's $699. If Apple can't hold the line, nobody can hold the line.
For the international market, there are three main corporations fabricating consumer product random access memory chips. Two in South Korea, Samsung and SK Hynix, and one in the U.S., Micron Technology. But due to the demand from AI data centers, the three production giants are now devoting a greater portion of their limited resources to produce high bandwidth memory chips instead.
So there's 80% margins on these AI chips versus the 10 to 20% margins on consumer-facing chips. A lot of data centers are repurposing their data centers to be AI-focused. I don't see much relief because the increase in usage just continues to grow.
And so now data centers are soaking up something like 70% of the world's memory, and everyone else is fighting over whatever's left for use in the consumer devices, right? The phones and the laptops that we rely on.
On July 6th, SK Hynix, which has more than 60% of the high bandwidth memory market, launched a U.S. share sale to raise $28 billion. But for standard consumer RAM chips, Chinese company CXMT has emerged as another option. So much so that Apple is now testing them in its devices sold in China.
Right now, everyone's starting to kind of look to China. A company called CXMT has gone from almost nothing to the world's fourth largest DRAM maker in about 2 years. Apple, they're arguably the most powerful buyer in consumer electronics, and they're essentially asking Washington for permission to buy memory from CXMT, a Chinese company. What they're wanting is a guarantee that the U.S. government won't tighten the rules and effectively strand them mid-contract.
Without more chip options, analysts see little hope of prices falling anytime soon. In fact, Micron CEO even admitted that chip supplies will be constrained beyond 2027 due to the fact that it takes years to build fabrication plants.
Everybody talks about food inflation at restaurants, at the grocery stores and whatnot, but boom, when you're hit with this, even buying a new Apple laptop or just a memory card or a flash drive, it affects a whole new broad segment.
Fung says a big test will be the year-end holiday shopping season, when retailers and tech companies will need to get extra creative with pricing strategies to satisfy consumers while making ends meet. Mark New, CGTN, San Francisco.
Well, the city of Shanghai is gearing up to host the 2026 World Artificial Intelligence Conference and a high-level meeting on global AI governance later this month. Ahead of the official opening, organizers offered a special preview into some of the core technologies that will define this year's agenda. The tour aimed to highlight the industry's latest advancements, and set the stage for crucial discussions on the future of AI. CGTN's Zhang Sran has more.
Marking its 8th year, the World Artificial Intelligence Conference has solidified its role as a premier global platform for artificial intelligence. This year's event will witness over 140 forums and a massive exhibition showcasing more than 3,000 cutting-edge products. The event aims to be a comprehensive ecosystem, linking global thought leaders with groundbreaking technology to forge industry consensus and offer solutions for global governance. Any advancement in AI begins with raw computing power. Shanghai Eastern Computing Technology is rethinking infrastructure design from the ground up and building a resilient foundation for the digital economy.
东方算新通过软件定义芯片技术和 3D 进存计算技术.
Our approach is built on two disruptive innovations: software-defined chips and 3D near-memory computing technology. By combining these, we create intelligent computing chips that deliver both massive computility and immense bandwidth.
AI large models are now biology engineering itself. Shanghai MatWing's technology has developed a generative AI platform to design entirely new proteins, which are the building blocks of life.
The AI model learns so many different protein properties, therefore it can rapidly deliver protein products according to the target you set up. It can be used in many different areas, including pharmaceutical applications, drugs, and in vitro diagnosis, and food, and agriculture, so on and so forth. And more importantly, since our AI model learns so many proteins survived in the extreme environment, those bacteria. Therefore, we can deliver protein with extreme properties like extremely temperature sensibility, acid or basic or other stability. Therefore, we can deliver protein products which was unknown, which are unavailable in the market to the public.
This is the first look at this year's event, and Shanghai is more than ready. A central focus is the mission for constructive global governance of AI. This is a determined push to align rapid innovation with ethic values, ensuring AI tools deliver responsible and sustainable benefits worldwide. Zhang Siran, CGTN, Shanghai.
China's AI industry has seen rapid growth in recent years. Official data show that in 2025, the country's core AI industry was valued at more than 1.2 trillion yuan, that is around $176.6 billion US dollars. The number of AI companies in China surpassed 6,200 last year, accounting for 16% of global AI companies. The core AI industry is expected to hit 1.7 trillion yuan, about $250 billion US dollars this year, according to a report released by a commercial research institute. And China is ramping up efforts to promote deeper integration of AI with consumer markets. In June, China's Ministry of Commerce and 7 other government departments released a guideline document to accelerate the development of AI plus consumption. The guideline includes 17 measures to expand smart production consumption, develop new consumption scenarios, and improve service delivery through AI-enabled systems. And with that, I'm wrapping up this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Lily Lu in Beijing. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.